Hi, I'm natekokernot. Thank you for joining me here for a few minutes today. There is an aspect of God's perspective that I feel is necessary to share with you for today's lesson to make sense. When we describe the path to enlightenment in the ACIM world, we often refer to rungs on a ladder. Some of us have already climbed close to the top of the ladder, and others have climbed less far. But from God's perspective, this is all irrelevant. From God's perspective, we are all, without exception, equally holy. That is because, from God's perspective, He has created only one of us. So the realm within which all this ladder rung stuff pertains to is really the realm of our own personal awareness. How holy do we think we are, is the relevant question to ask ourselves. If we have any doubts about our innocence, our holiness, our divine perfection, that is a problem, but only for us individually. It's not a problem in reality. It's just a problem in our own psyche that leads to the illusion of separation and suffering. The other thing that's worth mentioning is the way in which you can truly come to know with absolute certainty that you are innocent and holy or not. It's through your assessment of others. If there is anyone out there in the world who you regard as unholy, evil, ill-intentioned, then you've still got some ladder rungs before you that you need to climb to reach enlightenment. That brings us to today's featured principle of communication. Do not trap yourselves in your assessment of others. Why? Logically, if there's really only one of us here, and that is the fundamental aspect or premise that I'm advising that you accept wholeheartedly. When you are judging a brother or sister as anything but holy, innocent, and divine, you are really judging yourself as that. There's a theme in this series on communication that may be a bit surprising to many of you, and that is that they are all really focused on our relationships with our own thoughts. It's not important whether you present as a non-judgmental person. Many of us are really good at faking it, because we know that's what we all ought to be aspiring to, but that's not enough. In fact, I think that's often the root cause of our health problems, that we're denying our truth in the moment by not being radically self-honest about our assessment of others. That's also known as spiritual bypassing or skipping some rungs on the ladder. It only works if the belief in your brother's innocence is held as genuinely true in your mind. If we're judging our brother or sister as anything less than holy and innocent, we can't communicate with them. Why? Because we are identifying with the ego, or to say it another way, a thought derived by the ego. And the ego and the Holy Spirit do not communicate with one another. They have polarized worldviews to each other. They don't agree about a single subject. If you are trapping someone in your assessment of them, whether that's a negative or a positive assessment, then you are identifying with the ego, or the belief system that is based on the idea that separation is real. Even if you think you're being helpful to them by telling them where their growth points are, you're really just reporting on your own growth points. Here's a quote from the text that confirms what I'm saying today. Quote, "When you have accepted the atonement for yourself, you will realize that there is no guilt in God's Son, and only as you look upon him as guiltless can you understand his oneness. For the idea of guilt brings a belief of condemnation of one by another, projecting separation in place of unity. You can condemn only yourself, and by doing so you cannot know that you are God's Son. For you have denied the condition of his being, which is his perfect blamelessness. Out of love he was created, and in love he abides. Goodness and mercy have always followed him, for he has always extended the love of his Father." End quote. Now we're dealing with a version of good that has no opposite. In this world of separation, good needs evil to be understood correctly, but that is itself an incorrect understanding. Only the truth is true. It's a radical teaching, yes. It's probably intimidating if there are lots of people out there that you currently hold grievances with. It might make it seem like the spiritual path is a lot harder than you thought it was, but it's really not. It is through our gaining mastery over our thoughts alone that we climb up these rungs. While you may not know it as of yet, you do have the ability to gain mastery over your thoughts. You just have to be willing to practice making thoughts disappear when they don't resonate with the truth about us. Spirituality is quite practical when you understand that the practice of forgiveness is central to it. Gaining mastery over your thoughts is about a zillion times easier than trying to gain control over the world around you through action. That's very difficult with all these seemingly independent free wills running amok around you. The brilliant paradox in all of this is that when you have truly arrived at a place where you don't ever entertain a single judgment thought about anyone, the world starts looking like a much friendlier place. And that is only because you believe it is a friendlier place. What you believe is what you will see. It is quite simple to do if you give up the limiting belief that you are just wired to think the way you do, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you want to go on believing that evil exists in some of us and not in others, you will see plenty of evidence to confirm that belief, and the belief will snowball, causing your perceptions to snowball, causing your beliefs to snowball some more, etc. There's really only one path to salvation, and that is by gaining mastery of your perceptions through gaining mastery over your thoughts. I hope you're finding these ideas helpful. You might understand now that simply taking them in isn't enough to change your mind, but thinking them consistently while at the same time withdrawing your attention to the ones that contradict them will eventually transpire into a new worldview, and thus a new and brighter perception of the world around you. I named my book How to Change the World by Changing Your Mind for this reason. And I'm here to tell you that with enough time and consistency, your worldview will be improved. Please remember to like and subscribe. That helps get this healing message out to more people. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.